Hello and welcome to episode 1269 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, March 8th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We are here in early March. Sun's shining, although it was raining this morning, so that was a quick rainstorm. Baseball all the time. We're starting to get some of the evening games. Tigers played 2 games last night, split squad, both of them at night, so that was kind of cool. Draft season in full force. I don't know if you saw my tweet. 4 draft boards up right now, so it's that time of year, man. I'm just excited. How about you?
Yeah. Got back from Florida. I was really jet lagged.
Mm.
My
I
kid's
mean, that's
sick.
cross country, man.
Yeah, and now I'm going back to the East Coast here in like less than a week.
New
So
York's next week, right?
yeah, New York. I leave Wednesday night. So I'm excited. It's that time of year
Mm-hmm.
where I'm thinking about like Danielle was all like, "Hey, we've got this going on and this going on." And I'm like, "Listen, I got to draft that day. I got to draft that day. I got to draft that day." So you
Yeah,
know,
it's that month where Jen and I are simply roommates.
yeah, yeah.
I really try to carve out some time, but I'm like, I'll see you in April.
I pretty
We
much
got
told Danielle like, "Hey, I'll take everything on this Saturday because after this Saturday, I'm not
I'm
available."
dead. Yeah, we
Yeah,
got Out of the Park coming out next week as well, so that's huge. So yeah, everything is double time right now. It's a great time of year. I really love the
speaking
month of
of
March.
this weekend, I'm doing another auction live stream. So if you're
Excellent.
into the auction live streams, go over to my YouTube, Justin Mason FWFB, or my Twitch,
What
Justin
league is that
Mason
going to be?
FWFB. It's a $150 online auction through NFBC,
Okay, okay.
the online auction championship. And Ariel Cohen and Zach Waxman are both in
Ooh,
that
got some
auction. So,
competition coming in. Are you going to be doing Beat Justin Mason?
oh, you know what? I gotta send something off.
Yeah,
So,
I believe that is available. I don't think I'm going to be doing a Beat Paul Sporer, but I know that you and Jeff had talked about it. So get in touch with the appropriate parties to get that done.
I will send an email off after this pod.
Our
We'll
sixth,
probably do it the weekend before the start of the season.
that makes sense. Yeah, because you got
Yeah.
NYC coming up, then main week. Yeah, we got lots going on. The sixth and final SP preview episode. We had a couple shorties in there that kind of extended it out. Although we did say at the beginning that it would be 5 or 6, so we really kept to our word there. Got lots to cover. These won't all need a deep dive. There's a lot of names here. Some will be kind of quick hitters. No, not interested. Yes, DC only. Yes, AL only type things. But we got to start with a little news that neither of us are very happy about. What the hell's going on with Dave Roberts being real non-committal about our boy Gavin Lux as the starting shortstop? Looks like he's having maybe a little bit of trouble with his return from the ACL with regards to his defensive abilities. What did you think when you saw this news here with Dave Roberts kind of putting it in question whether or not he's going to be the opening day shortstop, he being Gavin Lux?
Well, this is news to me because you literally told me like right before we started recording, and I cried a little. We had to delay the start of the podcast,
We did.
and because
We had to
I
blow our
have
noses.
yeah, I have a lot of Gavin Lux already, and he's offensively looked really good in spring. He's sitting 348, 423, 348. No home runs, no stolen bases, but 11.5% strikeout rate and 11.5% walk rate. So kind of like what you want to see from him coming back. Obviously you'd like to see a little more power, but I'm not super worried about that in general. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, maybe defensively, I don't think he was the strongest defender short, anyways. The question is, does this hurt? How much does this hurt his playing time? Like, is he
That's the question.
going to
Yes.
move out into the outfield and take
There's
away
not really
playing
a
time?
spot right now.
I mean, he could take playing time from Jason Hayward. He could take playing time
I
from
mean,
James Outman. Uh,
I don't really think that he can, to be honest. And I love Gavin Lux. We both are huge fans. Jason Hayward was amazing last year, and the one thing that's always been steady has been his defense. So, and they're both lefties. So I don't really see that. Meanwhile, Outman's the center fielder of the future. I don't even know if Lux plays center field. So I
He
really
does.
don't. Okay, but I really don't see him being able to take their PT. Um, this this is a little bit alarming. Now, the one thing that kind of quells me from freaking out too much is that Lux isn't terribly expensive.
Yeah.
So, even with the shares I'm buying, I'm not overpaying. I don't believe, it's post pick 250. Just looking at March drafts here. DC's actually, let's do the online championship here. March only for the online championship. He's picked 265. That's fine. In fact, he's got a 100 pick range, 232 to 330, 232 to 323, almost a 100 pick range, 90 picks. So you get in some rooms that don't even like Gavin Lux, you can get him cheaper there. I'm still going to stick with him. Second base, outfield, should add shortstop. This could just be idle spring chatter. We talk about it all the time about people overreacting to spring news. I'm inclined to play it similarly here where I'm still going to be drafting him. But I was a little bit alarmed because I was kind of operating as though he's the free and easy shortstop. And then Miguel Rojas will back up Lux, maybe once a week and plus some defensive replacement.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because we have the Korea series, right? We get those 2-game Dodger Padres game. And I assume that the Padres will be starting Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, who are both right-handed pitchers. So we'll kind of get a really good idea, is Lux the guy or not, because he should start both of those games, or at least one of them, right? So
I mean, he'll definitely start one. I think I don't want to make too much of 2 random games overseas. They might want to try to get everyone to start too. So that's another thing. If Rojas does start one, don't automatically freak out because it might be like, hey, we've got this cool showcase. We tried to get everybody in. And so Chris Taylor, Miguel Rojas, and Enrique Hernandez get in, even though there's 2 righties or something. I'm a little nervous. But I tell you what, if this pushes Lux closer to that max pick into the late 200s, early 300s, I'll take the discount. I'm not going to move off of him. I still believe in my guy. I'm just a little annoyed. I'm also on the clock.
You're up everywhere.
I am. That's Raz Slam. So I took Chris Sale there. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not gonna freak out here. I didn't like seeing it. You just don't want to see that on a guy that you're super in on. That's kind of
I'm on the clock in Raz Slam as well. So
I started. So Raz Slam is a best ball points league, and I started with 9 straight hitters.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm really embracing the fact that pitchers, you get their best starts anyway. So just kind of.
I started 5 straight hitters, and then I went 3 straight pitchers after that. So
that's usually what I do. But then I got to that point, and I don't think the pitchers I wanted were all kind of gone. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go pedal to the metal. So 9 hitters it was. And, I'm fine with it. Bybee and Sale in 10, 11 are my 2 starters. Those are 12 teams as well. So,
anyway. I didn't go 5 straight hitters. I went 4 straight hitters and then pitchers. But my pitchers are amazing. So
who'd you get?
I have, let's see, I've got, of course, it's not showing me.
I thought you had it pulled up. Come on.
I thought I did too. I just took Bobby Miller in the.
I'm jealous.
In the
I wanted him. He was actually the guy.
So
who got taken.
I went straight variance because it is a best ball league. So I went Tatis, Ellie De La Cruz. So I got my second round Ellie De La Cruz for those people on Reddit yelling at me.
Gross. That's a 12 team. Oh my god, that thread was
Pete Alonso.
So funny.
Yeah. For those who don't know, a guy attempted to roast us for fading Ellie De La Cruz. And I don't really know how Reddit works, but apparently you get upvotes for
nobody
good comments.
Supported him.
0. Yeah, 0 upvotes.
He got decimated. Part of me almost felt bad, even though he really said, we're stupid idiots or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, who else did you get?
So Tatis, De La Cruz, Pete Alonso in the 3rd, then Luis Castillo in the 4th, Real Muto in the 5th. Catchers are really underrated in this cut line format. that actually are really, really important to get a good catcher.
Yep, I got Will Smith.
Tariq Skubal, Logan Webb, Yanier Diaz, and then Bobby Miller.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I got Soto, Semien, Arozarena, Royce Lewis, Will Smith, Goldie, Seiya, Arenado, Lane Thomas, Bybee, and Sales. So cool. Raz Slam.
I did really well in Raz Slam last year. I think I finished like 3rd or 4th overall, something
Very
like
cool.
that. Cool. Except for I didn't sign up for the side pot. So I made the decision to sign up for the side pot this year.
And you'll finish 500.
Yeah, I'm going to finish like 503rd or something like that. Yeah, I don't even know if there's that many people in Raz.
I don't either, but yeah, that's how it goes, right? It's like you sign up for the side pod and you'll freaking do terrible, even though you're trying to do well. All right, let's move on here and talk some pitchers. We've been through tons, and so now this is just kind of a mixed bag here. We got a couple mixed bags, AL and NL, and then we got little team combos all over the place. Figure it makes sense to talk about teammates as we go through here, but let's start with 4 guys in the American League who don't have anybody else that we're going to talk about from their team. Let's start with Clark Schmidt. He's kind of an interesting guy to me on the Yankees. He's definitely shown flashes of quality. And I don't know what's above a flash but below like a full season, right? Like he had 159 innings last year, career high. That's that's just shy of a full season as far as the 162 that you need, but it was 32 starts. Like that's nice. That's getting through the rotation. 15% strikeout minus walk isn't too bad. I feel like Clark Schmidt's hinted at more strikeout upside than that, but a 1.4 homer 9 and 9.6 hit rate saddled him with a 4.64 ERA and a 1.35 whip. So in the end, the results weren't great. But the 28-year-old does have a rotation spot. I think that the Yankees kind of have to rely on him, at least right now. Is Clark Schmidt somebody you find yourself gravitating toward at all? By the way, I didn't include ADPs for any of these. They're all available late. So it doesn't really matter. If you want them, they are past that point where you should just go attack the draft and get them when you want them, within reason, of course. I will tell you, like Clark Schmidt's 335 ADP in March. Don't take him at 220. Like, that's stupid. But you get my point. So Clark Schmidt, where you at with him?
I haven't drafted him yet, which is something because I'm thinking
you're 14 drafts in.
I'm at least 12 drafts in at this point.
Oh my God, I was joking, Justin.
So yeah, I'm trying to do the math real quick. 5 drafts So I think I'm 10 drafts in. So because I got
just 10. Never mind.
Yeah. So not too
well.
I've got 2 or 3 slow drafts going on right now as well. So yeah, 10 drafts. 10 drafts done.
You didn't cap yourself this year. It sounds like, huh?
No, why would I do that? Like I didn't cap myself last year and had a great season, So like, why would I?
So it was 2 years ago you capped yourself?
Yeah, it was 2 years, and that was the year I was.
God, time flies, and you did horribly. So.
Yeah, so I don't think that had anything to do with anything.
I know, but you were making the correlation causation there. So
yeah, no, I've finished the majority of my drafts. I think I just have my big money leagues coming up here over the course of the next few weeks. But Schmidt hasn't been a guy I've gotten anywhere, which I think is actually a little bit surprising to me because I think Schmidt kind of fits the role of the prospect who comes up and doesn't do as well as everybody expected. I mean, he was one of the biggest names as like a quote unquote sleeper coming into like late draft season last year. Like all the main event.
Didn't he have a huge spring?
Yeah, I can't remember if he had a huge spring or not, but I know like all the sharps were on him, right? Like oh, I'm gonna get Clark Schmidt, and then everybody dropped Clark Schmidt when he kind of struggled out of the gate, and but he finished well enough. Like, yeah, I know like a 4.64 ERA isn't what you're looking for, but like, he had a 4.30 xERA, a 4.36 xFIP. The Sierra was 4.29. Like, and he plays on the Yankees, a team that's going to get wins. He's in the rotation because they never added more pieces to that rotation. So
I'll add quickly, Clark Schmidt had crazy good skills in the spring last year, like a 5.03 ERA, which we didn't care about because it was a 1.02 whip and 28% strikeout minus walk in the 20 innings. That's where people started getting some hype.
he's got pretty good skills right now too. It's only obviously 2 starts, 6 innings, but a 150 ERA and a 17% swinging strike rate. I wonder if like people are sleeping on Clark Schmidt a little bit too much, and if he's someone I should be attacking towards the end game of my drafts because I think he is a bit underrated right now.
Yeah, I think there is still something here, and I really do like when a guy takes that first full year. Again, I've been using full year as 162, so to now not do that when it's 159, sorry, a little confusing, but 30 plus turns. That's a big deal when you make that first journey through an entire major league season. And as I've mentioned, throughout the years, like 464 ERA, I know it's not super fantasy relevant, but you got to put up a lot of good starts to get 159 innings of a 464. Like there's something there.
Well, I
Can you
mean,
get the
what's one
K
of the
rate up?
things? Or I was gonna say, like one of the things we look for is like, especially in some of these young guys, is like, is he going to be able to volume? And one, he showed he can volume, like he physically is able to volume in a way that we're not sure on other guys, other young guys. And two, like the Yankees do not have the depth to not let him volume, right? Like we're looking at this rotation, and obviously Garrett Cole's a horse. We're not worried about Garrett Cole, but Carlos Rodon's like throwing like 45 miles an hour right now. Nestor Cortez is coming off of a serious injury.
Yep.
Marcus Stroman had an injury that made him miss time last year, and he rarely throws above like 140, 150.
Yeah,
So
they
like
need Schmidt.
they need Schmidt to stay in the rotation. So like I think he's gonna get opportunities even if he struggles. I do think there's more strikeout stuff in this profile. Uh, I think he's got 2 really good pitches and 2 okay pitches. I think a lot of it'll depend on what the command and control looks like. I mean, yeah, the command wasn't amazing last year, but like a 136 homer per 9 in Yankee Stadium isn't as bad as like pitching in I don't know Kansas City. Like I'm giving up,
Yeah.
1.3 homer 9. So I'll handle that because the walk rate was actually pretty decent last year at 6.5%. So I think Schmidt is a guy that people, should probably consider in your 15 team leagues towards the end of your draft.
Yeah, I think so too. I also don't have Clark Schmidt shares, but I might want to remedy that. I think he is, just kind of an interesting guy late that there's elements to like here that could really pay off nicely. A little bit of like a post hype type too, because like you said, the
Mhm.
Sharps were big on him last year. It didn't quite come to fruition, but there was still enough there that I think the rebuy is not a bad idea post pick 300. All right, what about Zach Littell? You were never interested last year, never really got on board. Again, we always tried to make sure that like this is not another Rasmussen Springs type due to the fact that he doesn't have the dominance of those two, right? He
Yeah.
was never showing like that kind of, crazy swing and miss. He was just another reliever that had moved to the rotation that was finding success. But 90 innings, only a 16% strikeout minus walk. That's actually pretty decent, but only a 20% K rate. It was the
Yeah.
3% walk rate that really drove things for Littell. In fact, it's even lower by decimals if you look at just his Tampa Bay work. Although it was only 3 innings with Boston, so you can count all the work, and it doesn't really alter his number. But a 3.93 ERA, 115 WHIP in the 87 innings with the Rays, 14 starts and 12 relief appearances. A little bit of a home run issue. And like I said, not too much dominance, but there was an 11% swinging strike. So maybe some extra Ks there. Again, you can do kind of the 2 to 2.5 uh, uh, multiplier on the swinging strike rate as a potential strikeout rate. So I think he could push it up a little bit there, but 20% and 3% on the strikeout walk. What does Littell do at 28 years old for an encore here?
I think he does something similar to what he did last year, just more volume, which is fine. I think we're talking low to mid 4 ERA, a 20% strikeout rate, a walk rate that doesn't kill you when he gives up the home runs. So like I think he'll be
Great whip.
fine. Yeah, like I think he'll be fine. The problem with Littell is like while maybe he does have more strikeouts in there, That's not how he pitches. He tries to get weak contact, to get out of innings quickly. He had an 87% zone contact, which is not what you want to see from a pitcher. It's what you want to see from a hitter. So I just, I think he's very boring. I think there's very little margin for error, especially from a guy who hasn't always had the pristine walk rates that he did last season. I don't know. To me, like Aaron Savali came over to the Rays last year, and all of a sudden these strikeouts came out of nowhere. They saw something in him and went like, "Hey, we think you can get some more strikeouts, so
They
we
were
want you to
always
do."
there.
Yeah, but
I thought the
yeah,
potential was always there.
sure, you were always a Savali dude. Um, Zach Littell was there for a whole year, and they didn't get crap in terms of more strikeouts from him. Like that's just not what is in his game. And so to me, he's very boring. He's very bland. There's nothing wrong with him in a DC. If you want to put him on the back end of your roster in a 15 team, regular fab league, I get it. But honestly, at that point, I'm just shooting for a little bit more upside than Zach Littell.
Yeah, I mean, RA or strikeout upside, but you put up a sub 120 whip that late. That has a lot of value. This is not a direct comparison because I think you can find whip late, but it's somewhat similar to me like finding batting average late. It can
Sure.
be pretty difficult because a lot of times you'll find the opposite. You'll find a guy with maybe a sub 4 ERA but a 130 something whip or a bunch of Ks and bad ratios. You don't usually find a good whip because a good whip usually just generates more success. You're putting on fewer base runners, but he doesn't have a lot of dominance there. So Zach Littell does have a little bit of a higher ERA. So I agree with most of what you're saying, but I do think that whip should not be slept on, especially if you believe in the walk rate gains. If he keeps a lot of those gains, there could be something there. He did dip down with your Giants in 2022 from kind of living at 10% down to 7% and then cut that in half again this past year. And so might regress a little bit, maybe closer to say 5%, 6%. That's still very good though. So
But the problem is he needs to maintain that really good walk rate, otherwise the whip skyrockets because he is very hittable. Like this is a very hittable profile. And so like if his walk rate like gets back up to 7%, like you look at what he did in 2022, he had a 7% walk rate and a 138 whip. So now you went from a whip that helps you to a whip that kills you. And I just think there's so little margin for error on a guy like Littell that I'd rather take a guy going probably around the same spot as him that just offers a better ceiling.
yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that. Like anyone you're taking around this point is living on the wire.
Sure.
JP Sears out in Oakland, been a fan of his. I liked when they got him in the trade. He was kind of the guy I was keyed in on from the Frankie Montas deal. Ken Waldichuk was pretty interesting too, but Sears was somebody I was like, there could be something here. And maybe tapped into it a little bit more last year. Did take the full turn. 172 innings, 32 starts, 4.5 ERA, 126 WHIP. Not bad. Of course, 5 wins, 5-14, and so that really puts some burden on either the strikeout rate maybe to go up or the ratios to improve to really deliver value. This is an AL only play for me. Again, there's just not enough. If the strikeouts don't really jump to like a strikeout per inning, 25+% K rate, what am I really getting here? You can spot him, maybe play him at home on occasion, but I don't really need this in a 15-team mixer. I think it's got to be like an AL only or even a DC. You're taking 50 players in that situation. I can get a JP Sears there, but just being on this Oakland team, I'm not getting wins. The strikeout rate's 22% with an 11% swinging strike rate. That's probably where it's going to be. I like the volume. I think the home park isn't too bad, but the ratios aren't that sexy. So as a guy I root for, but until Oakland gets better, I can't really see myself putting him on a 15-team roster. What do you think about JP Sears?
I'm a little interested. Now, the problem, I think, is what you mentioned is like the Oakland A's do not win games, which is a stat. Again, we talk about starting pitchers, we're looking for 4 categories, right? We can't get a 5 category starting pitcher because we can't get saves. We're looking for 4 categories. So if you automatically eliminating one of those categories, that's a problem. I mean, he had 32 starts last year and got 5 wins. Like, And like it wasn't like he was bad all year. Like he had some,
No, a 454 is pretty good. Like you
and he
should
had
just
some
kind of
really good
luck your way.
stretches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you should luck your way to 8-9 wins on that if you're
absolutely.
not part of a 112 loss team. Alas,
So
Sears was, and thus went 5-14.
so here's my only, well, the only, because normally I would just be like, he's on the A's, I don't really care. Man, he's added a slider this
Mm,
spring, and I don't know if if you went and watched his last start. It was 3 innings and 7 strikeouts.
I have not seen that. That's amazing.
And the slider looks pretty decent. So I'm willing to take the gamble, especially because he's so cheap. But you have to be really cognizant of your build, your rotation build, right? You can't do what you did in your
I
main
would say,
last year,
I have
which
a
was,
problem with that, so I can't
yeah.
take him.
So for me, I can, because I definitely prioritize wins early on.
Yeah, I'm gonna
But
put 3 Angels, three A's, and 3
yeah,
Tigers on my roster, so I
and
can't
they
do
have
it.
a pretty good opening schedule, if I remember correctly. Like
Are they playing themselves?
they're going to Miami after a home series.
Ooh, okay, that's pretty
So,
nice. That's
like,
close.
I want to say like it's the Angels and then going to Miami. So
I'll
like
fact check you on that. I got you. Keep going.
uh at least I was talking, was like drafting like Paul Blackburn and stuff. Uh,
They've
at,
got no, they do not have Miami. They've got
oh,
Cleveland and Boston at home. They do start with 7 at home. Then they
okay.
go to Detroit and Texas.
Okay. I mean, I'm
So
okay with
if he gets
all
Cleveland
but
and
Texas.
Detroit,
Yeah.
I mean that's not too bad. I love my boys, but like facing
Yeah.
Detroit in Detroit, JP Sears not a bad pitcher. Mitigates some of the best hitters by being a
Yeah. You
lefty.
just don't want
Parker
to start him
Meadows,
versus
Kerry
Houston.
Carpenter. Yeah, I mean, and you don't really want to start him if he gets to the at Texas, but he's going to be the opening day guy, I believe. Sears
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. He
So he'll
should
get
be.
at Cleveland, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then he will get Boston, 1, 2, 3,
I'm
4, and
fine
then
with.
Texas or Detroit. So he will get Cleveland, Boston, and Detroit, and
I'm
he'll
fine
get
with all those
Cleveland and
starts.
Boston at home.
Yeah.
So those are the first 3 starts lined up for JP Sears. Might not be terrible if this slider does bring the strikeouts. If you can get the strikeouts, I think the ratios can improve, and then you don't have to worry about the wins. Make sure your build has wins, like Justin said,
Yeah.
or you'd be like me last year, where you got this great rotation and no W's.
I also
That
like,
can become a problem.
one of the things I want to do with a little bit with my, with some of my teams, especially my 15 team leagues, is the schedule is really spread out early
Yep.
on. And so as many opening day or number 2 starters as I can get means more starts in that first weekend. So, while you don't necessarily want to rely on the number 1 starter for the Oakland A's all season, I don't mind putting him on my team for the first weekend, because that's, I know I'm going to be getting stats from that spot in that first weekend.
Yeah, definitely want to get as much of that as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right, Patrick Sandoval. Speaking of guys on bad teams, although I'm such a dumbass sucker for this team, I still feel like I don't know. Maybe it's the what was that
It
called?
always looks good on paper. I think
I
that's the
know.
problem, is on paper it looks fine. And
What was the Simmons thing? Oh, the Patrick Ewing effect that he coined years ago, like when they lost Patrick Ewing, and then got good, the Knicks or whatever. And we saw that with some other teams. It's something that he had seen a few different instances of. This was old Bill Simmons, like 50,000 years ago. But maybe Ohtani leaving. There isn't so much pressure there, and just like Trout and Ohtani, like it's not a bad lineup. And I've already told you that I like way too much of this rotation. Patrick Sandoval is no longer my like go-to. I've moved on with Canning, Silseth, and Detmers, but I still have a spot in my heart for old Sandy. What do we think of Patrick Sandoval? He was bad last year, flat out bad. But what do we think?
I think, well, I probably won't be drafting him in anything other than like a DC or an AL only. Like, I feel like he's criminally underrated. like he's going pick 435, 436.
Why
Like
is he
he's
on
just
3 of my teams already?
because he's going so cheap, and you've always loved him. So
I know that's true, and they are
but
50 round drafted.
yeah,
moments.
you need, what do you need in those leagues? You need innings. Like you need
Yeah,
guys who are going to pitch, and you're going to
all
get
three are
innings.
DCs. So
Yeah.
that, in fairness to myself, I just picked somebody who's going to be pitching all the time, and
Yeah.
there's still talent there. This is the kind of guy, right? Patrick Sandoval, he threw 291 ERA, 134 WHIP back in 2022. We knew that the 291 ERA was fraudulent with a 134 WHIP. You can't maintain those two things, but he allowed a half a home run per 9, and that helped him put up such a great ERA. Everything kind of blew up last year. The ERA still only jumped to 4.11, which is not terrible considering the WHIP ballooned to 151. The strikeouts fell, the walks raised. But at age 27, with the experience that he has, this is the kind of guy that, like, if he had a breakout year, it wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
And he's an afterthought at the draft, and there's tons of them every year. I should go through and get a list of last year's guys that were drafted in this range that ended up popping, because there's always a group. And could Sandoval be part of that this year? And we were like, holy crap, he came out of nowhere. And it's like, yeah, he kind of could. I don't think you should overstock on him, but I remain intrigued. I've got 3 shares in DCs. That's probably all I'm going to do. I don't want to get too many, but I do love Sandy. I can't quit him. It's been difficult.
Yeah, I haven't drafted him yet this year, but I wouldn't have a problem doing it in a DC or an AL only. Like he's gonna pitch. He threw 140 something innings last year when they were in a 6-man rotation for, a fair amount of the year. So
yeah,
I think he's gonna volume no problem.
Back-to-back, almost 150 inning seasons, shown flashes in both. Could be there. All right, let's tour the AL and talk about some teammates here. Alek Manoah and Ricky Tiedemann in Toronto. You got anything for the Alek Manoah comeback? I know
Nope.
he came back looking svelte, looking good, but
he's pitched terribly and now he's hurt.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
And I don't even know if he's actually hurt as much as they just want him to be hurt. Like I feel like I don't know. It just feels like it. It feels like there was no way he was actually going to make the rotation. Didn't matter how well he pitched.
No, if he pitched well, of course they have Bowden Francis in there right now. They
Why
would
they just put Ricky Tiedemann in? Like Tiedemann's a good young pitcher. Like I know
he is a good young pitcher. He's not ready. You think Tiedemann's ready?
I think he's more ready than
like
Manoah
15 years old. He threw 4 innings at he's 20. He'll be 21 this year. Threw 4 innings at AAA.
It's like he's been in the minors for a really long time.
He's been in our consciousness for a while. A little prospect fatigue maybe setting in. Don't let that happen though. He's only been.
I just traded for him in a dynasty.
Yeah. So like there's still lots to like here, but he's your standard live prospect arm lefty, who has no idea where it's going, but has electric nasty stuff. Isn't he himself, Tiedemann, also dealing with a little something?
He had like a groin or a
hamstring issue. Yeah. So he's almost certainly not going to break camp. When do you think Tiedemann comes up this year is the real question. I know it's a guess. You have no real idea because we never know, but what do you think? Okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And then if things go crazy in AAA, he could force himself up in late April, early May, if he just blazes and then there's a spot open.
I mean, he also just doesn't have a lot of innings under his belt. So like I don't know that they want him like, being like pushed super, super quick.
Exactly. I am going to add this name because I did just mention it. Bowden Francis is penciled into their lineup right now. Do you have anything on him?
I honestly don't even really know who he is.
I know of him as a reliever.
Yeah.
And I did not know until very recently that he might get a rotation spot. It kind of came once Manoah struggled / got hurt. And, Mitch White's not taking over the job. Tiedemann's not taking it over.
I really don't get the Blue Jays, man. They were willing to spend $700 million on Ohtani, but they can't go get a Jordan Montgomery or a Blake Snell.
What if they don't want to come there?
I mean, that definitely could be the case.
Because it is a big deal to, like, move out of the country.
Well, and you have to pay taxes in both countries.
Yeah, so, like, that I could totally see. Even though Toronto, from all accounts, is an awesome city, they have a great fan base. I'm not like trying to dog them out. I'm saying that's a big move for somebody. And if they don't have somebody that they can, a family member or a friend that they can talk to and be like, oh no, you can do, like, kind of sell them on this idea, it could be a little daunting to be like, oh, I'm gonna move country. So I don't know. I do not know anything about it, but I agree with you. Shouldn't they be trying to talk to those two guys at the very least and say like hello? Because one of those lefties would help them so much.
Right.
Bowden Francis threw 36 innings last year out of the bullpen. Good innings. I mean, he was awesome, but I have no idea what to think of him as a starter. I'll continue to monitor this. I mean, he's 28. This would be one of those transitions where I think they would just kind of let him go, like kind of like the Rays with their guys, where he would, I think if it worked, he could throw 130 innings. I don't think he'd have to be limited to like 90 innings just because he only threw 36 last year type of deal. It'd be more of like the CJ Wilson transition where he moved into the rotation and he was just a starter, full stop. So I don't know. I'm not drafting him anywhere. Like I said, I learned about 3 days ago that he was penciled in as the 5th starter. But I'm going to keep monitoring it during spring. That's what I will say. Bowden Francis on the Blue Jays. Let's move over to the Red Sox. We talked a bit about their guys last episode and really fostered a big Cutter Crawford jump for me, our discussion, because I just really realized I needed to get in there. And then interestingly, I was on with Tim Kanak that very same night. And we talked about him as well. So 2 pods in the same day, kind of discussing everything about Cutter Crawford. And I was like, you know what? I got to give him a big boost. I did a big update yesterday on my pitcher rankings. Cutter Crawford moved up 30 spots to SP 42 for me. We're not talking about Crawford. We're talking about other guys.
Wait, SP what?
42.
Oh, I thought it said 32. I was like, oh, crap. 42 is not like nothing
42.
either. Like,
He went 30 spots up to 42. That's where you heard the 30.
We're the 3 guys behind Crawford for you right now.
Behind him?
Yeah.
At 43, 44, 45.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on one second. They are Eduardo Rodriguez, Justin Verlander, and Christian Javier.
That tells me a lot right there. I mean, we both love Erod.
Mm-hmm.
You've always loved Verlander.
Like, J-Rod got a 10-spot drop just to be cautious on the injury. And then Javier, I'm not out on. Listen, this isn't even about Crawford. We're going to talk about Whitlock and Houck. But I realized I knew I liked him. I even put it in the little write-up of the initial write-up. And I was like, oh, I'm really intrigued by him. But I just sold him short. And the deeper I dove, talking with you and Tim, I was like, I think I love Cutter Crawford because I think he can throw a full season. I think his 19% strikeout minus walk is excellent. I believe in it. And I think he's way better than a 4.04 ERA. I think a breakout is upon us here for Cutter.
I think there's a breakout coming too. But I think it's coming for Garrett Whitlock. Garrett Whitlock needed
That's a segue, baby. That's a segue.
Best in the business right there.
So our boy, Lucas Giolito, is murked, and that is very sad. But it does clear the path here for Whitlock. Take it away, Justin.
I mean, you're seeing really, really good strikeout stuff. 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, 0 walks so far in spring training. We've always known there's really, really good stuff and really good control. I think the question comes down to command. Like, can he command stuff inside the zone? So far, he's doing an okay job of it in the spring, but all he's needed is an opportunity. I think this is the opportunity for Whitlock, and I picked him up in the reserves of like my most recent auction, and in part because I was doing it at the bar at the hotel right next to Nick Pollock, and Nick was like, "Your pitching staff is boring as hell. Let's take some upside here." So we took Casey Mize and Whitlock and Max Meyer, who he apparently doesn't even like.
I like Max Meyer. I just don't know what to expect. I thought you don't take guys off of TJ.
He's so cheap, like, and he's so good in spring. Like he's literally. I mean, I know everybody hates him. He's free in a regular 30-round draft. He is free. Yeah, I just took the gamble. I don't even know if he's gonna be on the team to start the season or if he's gonna start the year on the IL or whatever. But he's looked filthy in spring. So, not that I care that much about spring trading. But Whitlock, I just think has all the stuff. Sometimes I do what I want to.
Yeah, to be honest, sounds like you let it drive narratives when you want, and then dismiss it if it.
As we all do, right? At least that's the way to do it, right? I think Whitlock has ace stuff. I really do, and I think he's just needed an opportunity to see if he can stick in the rotation. Because, I mean, I think there is a chance he is just a dynamite reliever at some point.
Sure.
If the command just can't, come together. But I just got good enough
that's what he's
control.
been thus far.
Yeah,
It is a dynamite reliever, Garrett Whitlock. I'm gushing about the 19% strikeout minus walk for my boy Crawford. Same number that
yeah.
Whitlock had. Now it was in a hybrid role, 10 starts, 12 relief appearances, but there's a lot to like with him too. I totally agree. And yeah, I gotta be honest. I am super bummed about Giolito, but even without him, the more I look at this Boston rotation, I'm like, it's not that bad. It
It has a
really,
lot of
really.
variance.
I know it has a lot of upside. I know Nick Pivetta, you're not
Yeah.
getting loose seed. You don't want to be Charlie Brown kicking the football,
Oh,
but I do think he
did I
made.
tell you about that though? Did we talk about
No,
Pavetta?
no, what happened?
So I'm doing my projections,
Oh
and
God, did you make
I try
Pivetta
to
great?
keep my biases out of the projections as much as I can. Obviously, I can't keep it all out, right? And I just did what I think he's gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it still made him like a top 40 starter, like a top 30. Like I got him, I think, in AL labor. Um,
What's
and
the projection?
oh God, I'll bring it up while you.
Yeah, so I mean Pavetta, yeah, we were I love that we were going to talk Whitlock and Houck. We're like Pavetta and Cutter Crawford are the best pitchers in the
Yeah.
universe. Well, it is funny. I will say everything I said about Crawford applies more to Pavetta. He had more innings with a better strikeout minus walk, 23%, the same 4.04 ERA, and almost the identical WHIP at 112 versus 111. So like same ratios that you think they can definitely get better because a 23% strikeout minus walk is amazing. I really think Pavetta can improve that ERA. Sounds like you're starting to believe as well.
Okay. So I have Pavetta with 153 innings. Don't think that's out of pocket.
No.
A 4.12 ERA.
Okay.
I don't think it's not like I'm saying he's an elite starting pitcher. But
Correct.
a 122 WHIP, right?
Yeah.
And 182 strikeouts. That's where all the value, like the value,
That's
like 100. I
hot.
mean, because he just he just gets strikeouts. It's like 10.7 K per nine right there. And so this is one of the reasons I like doing the projections, because I sit down, I do the projections, and then I run it through the computer, and the computer says, well, then you think this guy's worth this, and
Mm-hmm.
he was worth more than if I just done straight ranks where I didn't actually have a projection behind it. Like I probably would have had Pavetta outside of my top 50 starting pitchers, and now he's probably inside my top 40.
Yeah, he moved up in the latest update, and he needed to, and frankly, he might need to move up even a bit more. I like Pavetta. We need to move to Houck though. We did say we were going to be quick on some of these, and we are decidedly
Definitely,
not
yeah. We're
being
not
quick.
quick at all.
But
Yeah.
let's talk Tanner Houck, because again, the reason we started talking about Pavetta is like we're looking at this rotation. Pavetta's interesting. Bayo's interesting. Crawford, Whitlock, we just gushed about. Houck is the fifth guy here. And I like how these three guys, Crawford, Houck, and Whitlock, they're all 28. They've all been kind of coming up together. They're all kind of intriguing. Could they all leap at the same time? And then all of a sudden, Boston's actually a good team? That'd be crazy. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. Let me be clear. But I do think it's a more interesting rotation than I would have thought. If we did like a
I think
fantasy draft,
two of these guys will leap, and then the rest will probably flop and be relievers. But I could not tell you which two it's going to be.
I don't even know that they're gonna flop. They just might not be. You could say they might not be like sub 3 or sub 4 ERA type guys, but like if we did like a unit draft where you take this pitching staff, this infield or whatever, I think the Red Sox rotation would be a relatively high pick for me. Certainly a lot higher than I would have thought if you had just asked me blindly. Like ranking the SP units, where would you rank Boston? I'd be like, I don't know, 25th. That's what I probably would have said off the top of my head.
It's
now
definitely
looking at it,
at least a mid-tier rotation.
I was gonna say like 15th.
Yeah,
if not better. I'm really intrigued. So Houck's the fifth guy. He's just kind of there. What do we think about him? Because he's got upside too, doesn't he?
He does. The problem is the innings with Houck is he's never gotten 80 innings in the major leagues. And so
he had 106 last year.
Oh, I'm looking at Whitlock. Oh, so maybe that's the problem with Whitlock. Okay, yeah, 106 last year. I don't know. Houck just to me has always felt like a dynamite middle reliever.
I mean, he does seem like an ideal 2-inning type of guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't he also have, I'm looking it up, a big platoon? Because he's like a righty Sale, like right down to the whippy arm action. Yeah, over 236 point platoon split last year. For his career, Tanner Houck has, pulling it up, pardon me, has a 198 point platoon split. So that's a big deal. And that is a little bit worrisome. And I think part of that, even if he finds the right pitch to kind of quell it, which he doesn't really have a changeup, he has a deep-ish arsenal. He has a lot of pitches, but they're all similar-ish. They're fastballs and slider types, cutter, slider. I think that's just, even if he developed a changeup, I still think the arm action would make him platoon susceptible. But he's the fifth starter, Justin. Is there any DC upside? Is there any 15-team upside here for Houck that you could get interested in?
Sure, I think there is.
Okay.
I think especially I'm kind of keeping an eye on the walks right now because I think the walks are kind of one of his bigger issues. He's had a 9% walk rate last year, but he's had he has these moments where he just loses control the entire game, and that can just lead to these blow up starts. So far, only 2 walks in 8 innings, so I'll take that. Like if that feels like a good enough gamble, I think he's definitely worth a dart throw late. He's not my favorite dart throw, and so I haven't landed on him anywhere. I do prefer Whitlock, but to me, it's like who is the last guy out of this rotation? Right now, they're all in, right? But
yeah,
I feel like if Boston has flirted with Jordan Montgomery, like you got to wonder if they're going to sign Montgomery or sign Snell with the loss of Giolito. I don't know that they need it, but they clearly went with that decision to get Giolito and push one of these guys out.
True. How would be the guy out, right? Big platoon issue.
I would think so, but
why wouldn't he be?
I'm not 100% sure. Like, I just really don't know. It's definitely not going to be Bayo after he signed his extension yesterday. So
yeah, which we didn't mention because it doesn't really matter for fantasy. But I don't know. The bottom line is, I come away liking their rotation, the Boston rotation, a lot more than I thought I would. And I think multiple of their guys are going to be multiple share guys for me across my entire fantasy portfolio this year. So, all right. My Tigers. We've talked about some of their guys, quite some time ago, and Tarek Skubal. But Kenta Maeda got a little love too. Now we've got the other. We talked Reese Olson last episode, and now we got 3 guys, 2 that are in the rotation, and 1 that's kind of the next man up. That's got a lot of fantasy buzz. Jack Flaherty pitched yesterday, not great. Matt Manning, and then Sawyer Gibson-Long. Flaherty, anything?
No, I mean, I want him to be good.
Me too, but
this feels like a mean girl situation, and Jack Flaherty, we just can't make him happen again. So,
I thought you were going with you can't sit with us.
Oh no,
because the rotation might tell him that.
No, this is Gretchen trying to make fetch happen.
Well, she's also the one who says you can't sit with us. So Gretchen Wieners is all about it. There, he's looked really bad in spring. It's 4 2/3 innings. Paul, don't freak out. But he doesn't know where the ball's going, Justin.
Yeah, he has 4 walks in 4.2.
And are you familiar with the spring rule? I don't know how closely you follow the games where they can leave the game and then come back.
Oh yeah, I am. I mean, that's an old rule. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not new or anything. I kind of forget about it until I see it each year. That happened to him. Like, that's not a good sign. Let's just say, right? Yeah. The idea is we don't want you to have a 40 pitch inning, and it's spring. So I actually really like it. It makes a lot of sense to me. So that if they get blown up in the first inning, take them out at like 25, 30 pitches, and then they can come back if the team wants them to. But that happened to him. You don't want that to happen. I don't know, man. I want this to happen, but I don't see it. So I moved him down in the latest ranking. I don't think fetch is going to happen here. I agree with you. I'm worried. I moved him down 40 spots.
The problem is they've got so many other arms that are intriguing. Bingo. That like he has to be good. Like, this is not a situation where he can just like go up there and throw meatballs and still keep a rotation spot. Like, he will be in the bullpen really quickly.
That is my concern. My concern. I don't know why I almost said concern.
I think what's going to end up happening is Sawyer Gipson-Long is going to start the year on the IL, and as soon as Sawyer Gipson-Long is ready, like he's just going to replace Flaherty in the rotation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's possible. Oh, we already did talk about Matt Manning. Never mind. Sorry, I'm erasing that. He was on last episode. I'm a doofus. So let's talk Gibson-Long then. Oh, and Casey Mize. I should have put Casey Mize on here. You drafted him. You just said that you put him on one of your rosters. So that's the thing, though. There is a lot of depth. Former #1 overall, Casey Mize working his way back from injury. Sawyer Gipson-Long, like I said, kind of a fantasy darling amongst prospect folks, getting talked up a lot during Potapalooza. Wilmer Flores was in the AFL, quality prospect himself. Like, there's guys here with Gipson-Long. Do you think he's the 6th right now, or is he the 7th behind Mize?
I think they're probably like equal right now. My guess is that Mize is going to go down for a little bit longer than Sawyer Gipson-Long. So Gipson-Long is probably the 6 and Mize is the 7. I did draft Mize at the behest of our good friend Nick Pollock, but I think he's going to be
Gipson-Long already picked?
I can't remember if he was or
okay.
not. But I mean, I think I'm dropping Mize really, really quickly. He's coming off of Tommy John, and what is the thing that people struggle with when they're coming off of Tommy John? Command and
mostly
control.
Their command.
Yeah, he's got 4 walks and 3 2/3 so far, and like he definitely looks like he's struggling. Casey Mize does with his control right now, and that's a real problem when you have a guy like Mize who relies on volume and he relies on good command and control. Yeah, so like now you're getting a guy who probably isn't going to volume because he only threw 10 innings in 2022. He's definitely not going to.
They've got options, and he has been out of the majors for 22 months.
Yeah, and you aren't going to get a ton of strikeouts from him in short stints. So I think Mize is a 2025 guy. As I'm saying all this, I'm definitely going to drop Casey Mize.
Nick talk you into
I don't know why I let him talk me into it.
So then let's talk a little bit more about Gipson-Long. He's got a little groin issue that he's dealing with right now. Yeah. He is the odd man out for sure, but he could be that first man up. I do agree with you there. Can you find a spot for him in the NFBC world, 15 teamers with just 7 reserves, or is it too uncertain about when he'll come up to do that?
Outside of DC, I don't think I am. Because those 7 reserve spots are really important, especially early on in the season. I think they
play with them in fun ways early on without if you don't
go after closers. You can go at I'm loading up a lot of my teams with Chris Martin and Prelander Baroa and guys that I think could step into a closer role really quickly into the season. So to me, I don't want to load it up with a guy who. Well, I do think Sawyer Gipson-Long could be a really good pitcher. I don't want to wait to find out. I'd rather just pay a little extra in FAB when he's ready to come up, because we do know that Jack Flaherty is going to get murked at some point. So
for sure, he's going to get real chances, and he should, right? We can't go crazy on spring here and just say that he's completely cooked.
They're paying him $14 million. He's going to get a few turns in the rotation.
Exactly. And as you were kind of hinting at earlier with, the first week, it starts on a Thursday and there'll be a free agent buy on that Sunday. Yeah. You can try to manipulate some things for those first 4 games there where you take some gambles that are only going to play that weekend for you, that you're really just trying to get those stats.
You should do this. Yes.
Or take some closer specs like you said. I know that last year or the year before you tried to take some guys that might get multi-inning relief stints, things like that. So there's avenues to play there that getting a stash who might not be up until later this month, or later in April, I should say, at the earliest for Sawyer Gipson-Long, because he himself, like I said, is dealing with a groin. Just not the best pick. So I like him long term. I would also rather pay the premium in FAB than to try to stash him ahead of time. And that's specifically for NFBC 7 reserve, no IL things where spots are tight.
Yep.
All right, White Sox. I got 4 of their guys here because clearly we haven't talked about very many of their starters. In fact, I think we probably only talked about Cease, right? Yeah, because
Probably, yeah.
I got 3 guys that are penciled into the rotation, and then a guy that we're talking about Bowden Francis, a reliever, moving to the rotation. Garrett Crochet could be somebody. So I got Eric Fetty, Michael Kopech, Garrett Crochet, and Michael Soroka. Fetty is returning from the KBO. And I know he's got some buzz from some folks. 2-year, $15 million deal after dominating in the KBO. One time, big time. He was one time. That's a weird way to say one time, big time prospect.
Yeah.
He was a one time famed prospect. Is there any juice here? Are you excited about Fetty returning from the KBO? He's going to have opportunity for days. Can he do anything with it after a 25% strikeout minus walk and 180 innings in the KBO?
It's all of the strikeout rate, right? Like, we saw this massive strikeout rate in Korea.
Yep, 30%.
But Korea's like pitching in Double-A, so like, I don't want to like.
Is it still that light?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's pretty close to it. Maybe in between Double and Triple-A, but it's definitely not like straight Triple-A talent.
Okay.
So, I'm not overly like enthused by like what he did in Korea. What it does tell me is there is some change, right? Because what he was in the minor leagues, what he was in his time in the majors, was a guy who pitched to contact a lot, a guy who really struggled with his control and command. And he didn't do that necessarily in Korea. So far, we haven't gotten much of a sample in spring. He's only thrown 2 innings, but in those 2 innings, he got 3 strikeouts. He only has 1 walk.
And there were a lot of changes for Fetty overseas, by the way, like velo up. I think he added a splitter. This wasn't just like you said, going over there as like Double-A or Double-A plus, whatever you want to call it, and a 30-year-old beating up a league there with the same guy he was over here.
Yeah,
he made some tangible changes, and hey, some guys come back and things pop off, but it's not guaranteed. I was in on the Josh Lindblom experiment when he came back overseas, and a lot of that was injury. He never really was able to get going back.
But some guys come back and like they give back some of like maybe they're an effective pitcher. Miles Michaelis has been an effective pitcher.
Yeah,
but like he didn't like keep all the gains in like terms of like strikeouts and things like that he had over in Asia. So like,
but of course that's the difference between the leagues too.
So
what do you think Fetty can do then? Let's put some numbers to it.
Well, I mean, I think he throw 180 innings, and I think he's going to stick in that rotation all year long because I gave him a 2-year deal, and this may be the worst rotation in baseball.
Undeniably is. Well,
yeah.
Since
once
Cease
gets traded, then I think it is
still there. I think I would still take them over Oakland's if we're talking about doing a rotation draft.
Yeah, only because Cease is there. But like you take Cease out of the equation,
but he is still there right now. So if you're doing a draft, you got to draft them ahead. But okay, I'm so they're 29, not 30. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But yeah, Fetty's kind of interesting. He's a late pick. If you like him, you can go for him, and not have to pay a premium.
Are they 29 though? Because we still have the Rockies, right?
Oh yeah. So Rockies 30, A's 29, White Sox 28.
There's some really bad rotations because now I'm off the top of my head. I'm going like, how good is the Mets rotation? And how good is Washington's rotation?
I'm still going to take the Mets over all these teams. I know it's not great for like a playoff competitor, but Quintana, Severino, Minaya, Hauser, Miguel. I'd rather that rotation. But Washington, you're right. But we don't have to do the whole thing here.
Yeah.
This Giants team, I couldn't imagine being a fan for that garbage ass team. Logan Webb saves them enough.
Yeah, Logan Webb
28.
But I mean, that's like a very similar thing to the White Sox, right? Like
exactly.
White Sox
it's a one guy thing.
It's Dylan Cease holding up and when Dylan Cease is holding up your average, things are bad.
Maybe we need to do a rotation draft.
Oh, let's do
on
that.
The show. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm kind of in for that.
Yeah.
All right. Michael Kopech. We've been talking a lot about guys, that are way post type prospects today. Here's another one. He's still just 28, Justin. He threw 129 innings last year, 23% K rate, but 15% walk rate. I want it to work. I don't think it's gonna. I can't really get excited. Is there anything here? You're just stonewalling me because you don't want to talk Michael Kopech because of what he did to you on the show last year. Is that right?
Not just what he did to me on the show, just what he did to me in general.
Well, yeah, but
Michael
it was that
Kopech
one.
is the reason why reason why I have trust issues. I'll never love again because
it was
of Michael
that start
Kopech.
on the show.
That was the beginning. But
we
somehow
were
I
both watching.
still stuck with him for way too long.
We were both watching it, and I was like a little bit ahead of you, so I kept seeing every home run.
Oh,
a little
that's
bit
right.
You.
You had asked me, congratulations to On the Quarter for winning best podcast. But you had asked me what podcast I submitted. I submitted that one.
Oh, that's hilarious. I see why we got nominated then. That's fantastic. So, that was his opening day start, or his season opener, by the way, against your Giants.
Oh, I remember.
5 homers. Absolute nightmare. Okay, so we're not in on Kopech. I'm not either. I'd have to see it to believe it. If someone wants to draft him.
4 2/3 so far. He's got 8 strikeouts, which is awesome. And he's got 4 walks.
Yeah. It just, no. It's just a no.
He's also got 2 hit by pitches.
And honestly, that does matter because like it just shows like he has no idea where the ball is going. Garrett Crochet, they've said they kind of want to stretch him back out. He's not penciled in like Bowden Francis or anything, but do you have any interest here that he could be a multi-inning guy? Let's not even call him a starter right now. I'm including him here because we're not going to talk about him in a reliever preview. We're only going to talk about closers. Or could he be their closer? Maybe it is worth bringing that up. But what do you think of Garrett Crochet? He's been out for quite some time with injury, a big-time hype prospect, huge lefty. Love what he can bring to the table. Is there anything here?
I think there's something here. The question is, how many innings can we get out of him? Like, I just don't know. I mean, Crochet had 12 2/3. He didn't pitch it last year. He didn't pitch it all in 2022.
Correct.
But the skills could be really, really interesting. I mean, obviously, it's only 3 2/3, but 5 strikeouts, no walk so far in spring. The stuff has never been in question. He's got a 70 grade slider, 70 grade fastball. And there's plenty of opportunity in Chicago. I mean, we're talking about just this might be one of the worst rotations in baseball, especially after they trade Dylan Cease, which we expect them to do at some point. So, I'm willing to take gamble in a DC. I'm honestly willing to take a gamble just at the back end of my 15-team league because the upside is so great, and I think we'll know pretty quickly, like, hey, are they going to even let him go close to 5? Like, if he goes 4 innings in his first start, that's good enough to me to be like, I'm going to hold on to this and kind of see for a little bit.
Yeah, so if Garrett Crochet wins a spot out of camp, I could see myself taking him in like the 28th, 29th, 30th round of a main event even, just because the arm is so electric. So, yeah, I'm kind of interested. Michael Soroka, it is Michael these days, not Mike. Injuries have just ravaged this guy. You know, it seems like an eternity ago that he had that scintillating debut season, 175 innings in 2019 with a 2.68 ERA, 111 WHIP. And then he has a combined 46 innings since then, Justin. 13 2/3 in 2020, 32 1/3 last year, and that's it. Anything here with Michael Soroka?
Absolutely not. And I was a big Soroka guy in the past, but I need to see like at least some volume because he doesn't strike guys out, so you need volume from him. And I just don't know where the volume is going to be. If the skills are going to be as good as they were when he broke out. So I think, I wish him the best. I'll be watching him and kind of paying attention in case like he looks really good. But I mean, so far in spring, and again, 2 innings.
It's a couple innings. It's nothing to worry about. But
like nothing is like jumping out to me as like, oh, like this guy's ready. Like at this point, like we're getting pretty close to the start of the season. He needs to start ramping up in innings.
No dubs because he's a White Sox. No Ks because he's never been part of his game. It's all about ratios.
Soroka and Crochet are like a tandem.
That'd actually be a pretty decent tandem.
Right?
Make Crochet the second part of it so we can steal some dubs.
Yeah, that's
a very rare dub, but like with better chance at them than him starting. I actually would not hate that.
At least early on in the season, right? Where both these guys are trying to ramp up, they're trying to protect their innings, let them both go 3 or 4 innings, and all of a sudden you've got one really good starter out of 2 guys.
That actually makes some good sense. So the White Sox definitely won't do it.
It'd be a really interesting like tandem too, because they're both completely different pitchers.
Right,
Like
left,
right, left,
and
and
power finesse, or
yeah,
finesse power if
exactly.
we go Soroka
hmm
first, then Crochet. Yeah, I actually really, really like that idea. Well done by you.
So
Hopefully they consider it because that would make some sense. All right, the Astros. Believe it or not, we have not talked the entire Astros rotation. I think it was in 2 episodes in, we had already talked about the entire Dodgers and the entire Mariners rotation. Actually, not even the entire Dodgers because Gavin Stone is now starting due to some injury. We've only talked about Framber Valdez and Christian Javier. Oh, and Hunter Brown. So we talk about 3/5, but we do have 3 other
mhm.
guys here. The other 2 that are penciled in, and then an interesting 6th guy because Verlander's nicked. Jose Urquidy, a guy I've been a forever fan of. JP France, who had an interesting season last year, and then Spencer Arrighetti, their top pitching prospect, who is kind of intriguing. Let's start with my boy Urquidy. I know you've never been a huge fan. I understand. Last year, he dropped down to a 7% strikeout minus walk. The thing was, and Eno and I have always been both been fans of his, thinking that there's more to his arsenal. The strikeout rate's going the wrong way though, proving us
Yeah.
proving us silly to that end. 21%, 20%, 16%. So that's the problem right now. It didn't look good last year. Injuries have always been a problem. But is there anything here in like a DC because he's gonna be pitching? Do you like Urquidy at all? I know, again, you haven't been a fan in the past. Now that the price is like your favorite phrase, free, do you have any interest?
Nope.
Okay. Didn't
I
think
mean,
so.
there's no strikeouts. I'm now not as confident that he will stick in the rotation all year round.
The
They
case could
did.
come back. It's still
They
11% swinging strike rate.
sure.
But
I mean, they
but what
could, but
what are they coming back to? Like a 20%. I take your
yeah.
I take your comment there, but I just want to point out that like the 16% isn't necessarily who he is. But even if he comes back up to
But
2021, you're
like
not
even if
doing
he's at
backflips.
20, because I'm not as sure of the volume anymore. I mean,
Exactly. No, I get that.
he didn't. He only started 10 games out of 16 appearances last year. And this is a new, kind of regime in terms of the coaching staff. Like, do they just, are they as in love with him as the previous one? That obviously soured on him at some point. So, yeah, no, I mean, to me, there's like no reason to draft Urquidy. There's other guys. Like, I'd much rather have the next guy we're going to talk about, which is JP.
Yeah, I'd probably rather just take France. And like I said, I've been a long time Urquidy guy, and I'm moving off as well. France intrigued last year, right? He was probably a useful player for a lot of folks at different periods. 136 innings of a 3.83 ERA, but a 136 WHIP and just a 9% strikeout minus walk. Kind of had him living on a wire a little bit. I think it kind of came unglued a little bit at the end. But can there be more here, or is this just another Urquidy who stayed healthy type of guy with France?
I think France got really good stuff. And I think he's got a very full arsenal. And I think all he really needs is the opportunity to kind of like just stay in the rotation. I think he's going to get that this year, especially with Verlander down to start the year. So, and me not believing in Urquidy. So I think he's probably their 4th starter all year long. And I think he could volume his way into being really, really useful. Not to mention, like, this is a guy who showed really good strikeout stuff in the minor leagues. All the reports in camp right now are that he looks really, really good. Interesting. I don't see that he hasn't started, right? He's dealing with some sort of issue, a shoulder issue. But they say he's on track to start the year in the rotation. So I think France is definitely a really interesting dart throw at the end of 15-team drafts.
Say that last part. I'm sorry.
I said that I think France is a really interesting dart throw in 15-team drafts. I mean, this is the anti A's, right? Like, you can't get wins in Oakland, but you can get a bunch of wins
You can
as
steal
long as your volume.
Yeah, exactly. And it is worth pointing out, 2.75 ERA through 18 starts for France.
Yeah.
And then it came unglued with a 10 earned against Boston, 5 at Texas, 5 at KC. He put up a 7.94 ERA in his last 6 starts there. So, part of that was the regression that he kind of deserved, but that's a little severe at the same time. So I agree with you. I think France over Urquidy makes some sense, even if you're just kind of wins chasing. That's the kind of guy that I need to be going for late after I get 5 LA Angels on my team.
Because it's really
Spencer
interesting.
Arrighetti.
So I was going to say JP Sears threw 172 innings with similar skills to JP France, got 5 wins. JP
Yep.
France threw 40 innings less and got 11 wins. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
It's the perfect example of what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Arrighetti, top pitching prospect for them. Kind of on the cusp now with Verlander nicked. I don't think he's going to get a spot out of spring, but I think he's an interesting DC option. What do you think of Spencer Arrighetti?
I'm a little worried about the command and control. I know, like, he was somewhat impressive in his first spring training start, but that's 2 innings and in spring training, and he's always had like a walk problem in the minor leagues. So I guess I would prefer him to Rikiti, but like I don't know how much he's actually going to be up, and the Astros are definitely one of these teams, like they could just go get another starter at some point. Like
they could get one of the lefties.
Yeah, they get one of the lefties. They could get Cease. They could they could do a lot of stuff. And so
they maybe should, by the way.
They probably should.
If they want to stay, at the top the way they are, unless they really believe Javier is going to get back. I'm a big Fromber guy. I'm a big Hunter Brown guy, but JV, what can you really count on him for?
And Hunter Brown hasn't proven yet that he can keep the ball in the yard. So
exactly, like
I think he will on
him.
But I think he will.
We're specking on him, but like it's not a guarantee. So,
but you put like a Cease or a Montgomery or a Snell at the top of this rotation, and all of a sudden this rotate, and plus it keeps Montgomery, like especially if you do Montgomery, it keeps Montgomery away from Texas, like the way they just did with Hader, where Hader was really rumored to go to Texas. You just keep another piece away from your biggest rival in the division.
That would be hot. Speaking of Texas, your boy Andrew Heaney and also Dane Dunning. What do we think?
Both of my boys. I've liked both of these guys. I'm a big
Dunning fan myself, but Heaney actually stayed healthy-ish last year. Career high 147 innings, 14% strikeout minus walk, 24% K, 9% walk rate. We got anything here with your boy? Again, you're a longtime fan.
No. At this point, like, I think I need to see something.
He's a home run machine, dude.
The command is such a problem, and the whip was a real issue last year too. Like, which is not something that, like, I guess he's had whip issues in the past too. So like, maybe the Dodgers season is going to go down as his high water mark. I'll always love the skills, and if there's something we see throughout the season, like where I go, oh, okay, all of a sudden, like he's got really good control, he's got really good command, but he's already walking too many guys in spring, and he's already got 4 walks in 5 innings. So I'm not in on Heaney this year.
You finally quit him, yeah.
I quit him. I think I quit him last year.
Yeah, that's true. Jokes aside, like you were not hyping him up again last year, Andrew Heaney. Dane Dunning, we've both been fans. Dating back to his prospect days, really. But then with the White Sox, now with Texas, he's like one of these guys that, like, I can't make a good stat case for you. I can't give you a bunch of savant numbers that are going to wow you, but the dude gets the job done. 3.70 ERA, 126 whip. I know it comes with like a low to mid 4s Sierra, and he was a mid 4s guy the 2 years before that. And so that is on the table for somebody like Dane Dunning. But there's another guy that you're talking about, like the JP France style, where if you're trying to just get some wins because he's on a good team and he's going to eat up innings, Dane Dunning can be your guy. So if you take chances on a bunch of guys on shit teams, throw a Dane Dunning on there to stabilize your wins. Hopefully you kind of pick and choose his starts the right way so you don't get bludgeoned by his ERA if it's not 370 again. He also unveiled this new forkball. Could there be something there for Dane Dunning with that, where he improves his rates?
I think Dane Dunning is what people should want Chase Silseth to be, which is a guy who just does a really good job of mixing all these pitches that he has. And I still don't understand. I don't know why I'm talking about Chase Silseth. I still don't know why people draft Chase Silseth over a guy like Dane Dunning.
Because Chase Silseth. What the hell's your problem?
Because Dunning, while he has mediocre stuff in the same way that Silseth does, he does a really good job of just getting out of innings quickly and mixing things well. And and the command and control are much better. So like,
It's a nebulous, like, the online meme is he got that dog in him type of thing. Like, but that
he's a
there is a
perfect,
little bit of that. Is that pitchability, right?
yeah. Dunning, I don't necessarily want Dunning in a regular Fab league, but in a DC especially, like Dunning is like the perfect guy because there's going to be 150 innings. At the end of the day, you're going to look at the line and go, okay, that's fine. Like, but nothing is going to jump off the page because he doesn't strike enough guys out. So like there isn't a ton of upside, but he's going to have useful innings. He'll be a good streamer, when you're looking for wins. But not a guy that I'm necessarily drafting at the beginning of the season.
I don't mind him in a Fab, if only because you could steal those dubs, right?
Yeah, and he we talked about the A's schedule. He's getting the A's early on in the season. So
did you mention the spring stats? Because you've been mentioning everyone's spring stats. You got to mention Dunning's 6 innings, 26% K rate with a 21% swinging strike rate. The fork ball is working. I mean, if he listen, is he going to keep that kind of swing and miss going? No, but if he is like a 24% K rate guy, that's a major dynamic shift for Dunning to where I do think he's 15 team viable. I think at that point he'd even be 12 team streamable.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the question is like how much whip damage can he do? Because while he had a 126 whip last year, I mean he's a career 135 guy. In the previous 2 seasons last year, he was 144 and 143.
If he's got more dominance, then he's giving up fewer hits. Ideally, right? You'd think that go hand in hand.
You would think he's not this spring. He's got a 150.
I was joking with the spring numbers because he has a 375 BABIP too.
I know,
But what is the thing that we care about in spring? Swing and miss.
But I also want to say, like, he's a guy who can run a higher BABIP than you would normally expect from a traditional pitcher because he allows so much contact. So.
Yes, traditionally, if this swing and miss stuff is real, I don't think a 375 BABIP, which he has in spring, or even the 313 from 2022, career 305, all these 300 numbers, I think it could come under 300. Bottom line, 29 years old, been a boring guy throughout his career. I actually think Dane Dunning has some upside if this forkball actually really adds a dynamic to his arsenal. That's where I'm at on Dane Dunning. All right, let's move over to the NL. The NL mixed bag here. Tyler McGill, Josiah Gray, Graham Ashcraft, Keaton Wynn, Jared Jones, and AJ Puck. Let's start with Tyler McGill. I can't quit him from that early, from that first sample. What?
You should.
I have a hard time though. And also, didn't we? Isn't he having like a decent spring? I don't know. Maybe he isn't. Maybe it doesn't matter either because these spring samples are tiny.
I don't care.
But okay, so you're out basically on you saying that I should.
He is having a decent spring. 8 innings, 13 strikeouts, only 2 walks, no home runs given up. Oh man, this stuff is really good when he's healthy. I think the question is like, how healthy is he gonna be? He clearly was struggling last year, and I think it was somewhat health related. Like he was, coming off of kind of a lost 2022 season. Maybe I should be like willing to take the gamble because he's so cheap and the skills are good. It's a good park to pitch in.
I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah, maybe I should be.
Yeah, I think he's as draftable as pretty much every guy we've talked about here.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, to be quite honest, like I know we're going super long already. We've already gone over an hour on these
we're gonna have to speed through the NL guys to get through our time because we cannot do a 7th episode.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, outside of JP Sears, Garrett Whitlock, and Clark Schmidt, like I'd probably take McGill next. So
Fetty if
yeah, maybe Fetty,
in the right
Greg Crochet,
So I got some love for McGill. Like I said, I've been stuck on that initial sample where he was really dominant. I'm not saying that's who he is, but it just sticks in my brain. So I kind of like McGill. If he keeps having a good spring, I can see myself drafting him even in a main event. Your boy Josiah Gray, are you still in on him? You were big on him last year. He wasn't terrible. I mean, he took 30 turns. He fell just 3 innings short of a full season with 159 innings, 391 ERA, but a 146 whip, Justin. That's bludgeoning your whip. That's what it's all going to come down to, right? We know the stuff is electric, but he doesn't know where it's going. Neither do the batters. What are we doing with Josiah Gray? You sticking with him?
he's been a guy with bad command and control his entire career. But last year, the command actually got better. The problem was the control was not better.
Correct.
Control was worse.
Yeah, he cut the homers down. It was still 1-3, but we can live with that if he can cut the damn walks. And he also sacrificed some strikeouts for it as well.
But
So
so
maybe he's kind of
far,
putting the pieces together, though.
Right now in
You know?
spring, obviously 5 innings, but 10 strikeouts, only 2 walks, no home runs. So something to just keep an eye on because, I mean, he is free at this point. So, and he's going to pitch in that rotation all year long as he's healthy. So Josiah Gray is not a guy that I'm necessarily running away from. I think they start in Cincinnati or something like that, though. So probably not for either in Cincinnati or at home versus Cincinnati, which
either way,
Washington's not a great part to pitch in. Yep. They're in Cincinnati. So definitely he's the guy that I'm going to pick up after that Cincinnati series. Probably not drafting.
Let people cut Josiah Gray, and then we look for like an interesting 2-star. A live arm, another one of these guys that like could break out, like we were talking about with Patrick Sandoval, where if he was like one of the year's miracle pitchers, I wouldn't be surprised. You can say that about so many, though. You can't caveat everybody. You can't draft all of them. I'm just saying he's got the arm talent to possibly be one of those.
He's definitely not a guy I'm outside of DCs. I have drafted him in DCs, but outside of DCs, I'm not drafting him. But I'm looking. He's a watch list guy for sure.
Sure. I think that's fine. Graham Ashcraft, weird ass season last year. What's crazy about his disastrous first half is he was actually kind of dope in April. He had a 2 ERA through his first 6 starts. He then allowed 6 or more earned runs in 5 of his next 8, good for a 12.82 ERA in 33 innings. From there, of course, he was dropped by everybody. And then put up a 2.58 ERA in his final. Of course you dropped him. Like, why wouldn't you? Everyone should.
No. I'm giving you a thumbs up.
Sorry. I thought you were saying that you dropped him and you were roasting yourself. It's like, yeah, absolutely. So the funny thing is, the 2.58 ERA in 12 starts did not occur on anybody's roster that drafted him, unless they repicked him up. But what I'm saying is, like, he had been dropped and had to be repicked up by then. You benefited from it. I wanted to paint like a rosy picture based off of that 2.58 ERA. The skills were still pretty shit, dude. 12% strikeout minus walk, 1.3 homer 9. It was a 2.52 BABIP, and he kind of ran hot, man. Like, the stuff is there, Justin. Graham Ashcraft is like a real gifable pitcher, but gifts don't get you success. You know how I feel about the good Cincinnati pitchers. I can't get behind one that has such a modest strikeout minus walk rate.
Let's just move on. Like, I agree. Yeah.
Keaton Winn is nicked up right now, but what do you think if he is healthy?
If he's healthy, I think he's got really, really good stuff. I don't think he's healthy, though.
Okay, so you're not drafting him.
I drafted him in some early DCs. I'm not anymore.
Yeah, I'll tell you someone I'm really interested in and I am drafting is Jared Jones of Pittsburgh. Fascinating prospect, had 82 innings at AAA last year where he had a 15% swinging strike rate and 28% K rate. Competing for a spot in camp, his spring numbers so far aren't very good. He'll need to better them if Pittsburgh's going to judge harshly off of the numbers, he'll need to improve them to get that spot. But we know Skeens isn't getting it. They don't have a lot of other options. I think Jared Jones could break camp. I'm very intrigued by him. Talk to us about Jared Jones of the Pirates.
I mean, it's just really, really good skills. The problem is he's not on the 40-man.
True.
And I don't think he's going to make the rotation. But they said, like, yesterday, I think it was, that he's still in competition for that 5th spot. So
I'm seeing something here. Mike Burrows, he's showing as on the 40, but with Tommy John, he could be moved to the 60 if he isn't. We don't have him as on the 60 already. Once you move to the 60, you're off the 40. Sorry, that's confusing. Once you move to the 60-man IL or 60-day IL, you get moved off the 40-man roster. That could be Jared Jones' spot.
For who are you?
Look at Mike Burrows under the injuries.
Mike Burrows. Oh, okay.
It just says Inge. It doesn't say 60 IL.
Okay.
So why couldn't he be the guy who moves to the 60-day IL with the Tommy John surgery that he got last April? So he's not coming back anytime soon. I think
they just signed Eric Lara.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of an interesting signing.
So now he's not on the 40-man, but he's also on options.
Wouldn't that screw our boy over?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't think Jared Jones is making the rotation, but I've taken some gambles on him at the back end of 30-team drafts just in case he does. And I might hold on to him for a week or two because I think he's up before Skeens. So Jared Jones,
so too.
So Jared Jones is a guy that like I'm okay stashing for a few weeks and kind of seeing whether or not, because the stuff is really, really good. And I think he's ready through 82 innings last year in AAA, with over a strikeout an inning. Walk rate was, a little bit high, and he can struggle a little bit with control, but I think command is fine. And it's a great park to pitch in on a team that I think is like, I keep saying, I think is pretty decent.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here for some Jared Jones love.
Same. People on Twitter wanted me to add AJ Puck when I put up my update yesterday. I was like,
Why?
fine. I know.
Why?
That's kind of how I felt. I root for him. He's a guy I've liked since his prospect days. He's gunning for the rotation.
He needs to be a reliever.
I'm not interested. I'm sorry.
I'm not either.
Okay, we got to move on then.
Yeah.
Braves. We actually got 3 interesting guys: Bryce Elder, AJ Smith, Shaw,
No, we don't.
and fuck you, we don't. I didn't even get to name the most interesting one,
He's not
Reynaldo
interesting.
Lopez.
None of these guys are interesting. I don't want any of them.
Okay, you might not want any of them, and that's fine. But I disagree with you that none of them are interesting.
I mean, they're interesting.
I'm not even talking about Raylo.
They're interesting in the sense that whoever is the 5th starter in this rotation pitches on the Braves, and that inherently gives you win potential. I think it's going to be Bryce Elder, and then obviously Max Fried, Charlie Morton, and Chris Sale are all huge injury risks.
Yeah,
at this point.
So then don't dismiss them, you little jerk.
Reynaldo Lopez. No, I'm not drafting any of them. Reynaldo Lopez is a reliever. He's a good multi-inning reliever. Bryce Elder just gives up so much contact. And AJ Smith-Shawver, I just don't think is all the way finished as a product. So I don't really.
Lopez has a 1.13 ERA in spring with an 0.63 WHIP. You fucking
how many innings?
Shithead. 8. Quite a few,
okay.
Sir.
That's not
don't
I don't
say,
care.
As if 8
I don't
innings
care.
is important.
Don't
go. 8 innings. Wow.
That's something. I still don't care.
Hey,
you know why? Because he's been excellent in 2 to 3 inning stretches, which is what he's done in spring.
True. And I cited the ratios, but I will. I jokingly, but I will cite the skills. 20% swinging strike rate, 7% walk rate for Reynaldo Lopez. He is only 30.
Great in 2 to 3 inning stretches.
I can't quit Reynaldo Lopez.
I know you can't. You should.
They're going to draft him in DCs. I don't care. Bryce Elder.
Okay, that's fine.
AJ Smith-Shawver, very interesting arm. Hit me in 2025, I think, or maybe this summer. 2 guys you love here, Cardinals. You love these old heads. Steven Matz and our favorite player in the universe, Cal Gibson.
I love Steven Matz. I really love Steven Matz. I know that he's not going to be ready necessarily for the start of the season. And may pitch out of the bullpen or
is that right?
The IL.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I saw something the other day.
Won't be fully stretched out. Correct. Okay.
So I think he'll probably be a swingman, but that's fine because early on in the season, again, the schedule's spread out. There'll be rainouts and things like that. So they don't really need a 5th starter right now. But Matz, when he's been healthy, has been a very effective pitcher. He is healthy right now. Well, he's not going to be stretched out. He's still healthy. So far in spring, 1 inning.
Stop. We have to stop.
1 inning, 2 strikeouts.
Shut up. Cal Gibson, our boy. He's in a good park.
I know. I don't trust him. I love the dude. He will always be one of my favorite guys.
My grass looks like shit right now.
Yeah, because he's in St. Louis. So, well, he's probably in Florida, but
he's in Jupiter.
I mean, outside of DCs, I don't really care about Cal Gibson, but. It is a good team. He does go deep in a game, so he will get wins. But other than that, I really don't care.
Okay. Brewers, DL Hall and Aaron Ashby. Similar guys, right? Live lefties.
Yep.
Who might be better in the bullpen, but right now both have an opportunity to start. Actually, DL Hall, much better opportunity. I think Ashby is still.
Both are going to start. I mean,
they don't have Ashby penciled in right now. It's a little dicey.
This rotation went from one of the best in baseball to not.
To less than that. Peralta, Miley, Junis, Colin Ray, DL Hall. Let's start with Hall.
And Miley, I think, isn't going to be ready to start the season, which is why Ashby's going to get in.
Okay. Well, let's start with Hall, though. Big piece return for the Burns trade. They're going to go ahead and give him a shot at starting. Obviously, the skills are insane, or the raw stuff is insane. can he be a dude this year?
I don't think so. I mean, I know that, like, you know, this is one of those guys that, like, Nick really loves. But
Oh, he is? Okay. I didn't know
Yeah.
he was on the DL
Oh, yeah.
Hall train. Very
So,
cool.
like, I threw him out at $1, like, really early on in the auction just because I know Nick would go too. And Nick was, like, ecstatic. He's like, I would have paid $6. And, like, I was like, you shouldn't want to pay $6 on DL Hall. Dude just has a really hard time finding the strike zone. And I know he was really good in 19 innings last year, but it's a 19 innings.
It's pure relief, though.
Yeah, he's a reliever. And I think he's going to be an electric reliever at some point. But he's not a starter. Like, I don't buy that he's a starter. And, like, how many innings could you really project for him anyways? Like, 90 this year? Like, I don't know. I'm not in on DL Hall.
What about a Hall-Ross tandem?
It'd be interesting. But who comes out first is the question. We don't know. And not all these organizations, like, we say, like, we like these tandems, but very few organizations actually will do these tandems.
I know. It really only the Rays.
And the Giants,
like,
too.
One time. Yeah. Your Giants did. And some of the players hated it, right? Like, you talked about how Mania desperately hated it. So, like, we think it's cool, but if the players hate it, then, like, it's not that cool if they're not performing. And I know, like we said with the Mania thing, sometimes you got to do what the team tells you and just do your job. But, like, if you're not comfortable with it, you can't force yourself to be comfortable with something that your body is not, working well with. So I don't know. But Joe Ross, you want to talk about guys I can't quit? The stupid Ross brothers, man. I've been fucking in on those two idiots for, like, what feels like 30 years. So Joe Ross is kind of flirting with a rotation spot out there in Milwaukee as well. And I'm moderately intrigued, at least for DCs. All right, let's finish up with the Padres here. You got a few minutes left. Randy Vasquez.
Can we talk Ashby real quick?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I skipped over Ashby. Well, he made his spring debut. It didn't go well. I don't really care about that. That's the latest news.
Yeah.
But the only reason I bring it up is because it was his first MLB, work since October 2022. So he's back. What can we really expect out of him?
I don't know, but it's just a guy I'm going to put on the watch list. Especially because, well, I know we have him penciled in to go to AAA. He's actually got a contract for this team. Remember, he signed like a 5-year deal with the Brewers before he got hurt.
That's right.
So I think he has a better chance of making the rotation than maybe we're giving him credit for on roster resource, especially with, like I said, Miley, I don't think is going to be ready to start the season. So
my only question is, like, how much can they get out of him? The real tandem should probably be the two lefties, but I don't know if they want to do like two live lefties.
I mean, they can always just, like, tandem with the other crap in their rotation, right? Like
with Junis and Ray, each of them pair with one a righty lefty.
So
I mean, Junis has some of that tandem work from San Francisco. He's used to it.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing on Ashby. Like, he was everybody's favorite sleeper before he got hurt. Like, everybody really, really was high.
I still
think us, on Ashby. And so while I'm not going to draft him pretty much anywhere outside of maybe a DC. But even in DC, I think just the risk of the health and not being able to drop him is a problem. He's a guy I want to put on my watch list in every format. We're talking 10-team leagues. I think there is still huge upside in the arm if he can figure out the command and control. So, and I don't know what he's going to throw innings-wise, and maybe he is more of a 2025 guy, but just a guy to kind of keep on your watch list and kind of see what he's doing.
Feel like I could take Ashby in a DC and hope for some summer goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know about early season.
Yeah. And those are guys I tend to avoid anyways.
Which is fair because you don't want to plan for something that far out. Because as we always talk about.
If you're gonna plan for summer goodness, why wouldn't you plan for it from, like, Jared Jones or Tiedemann or someone like that?
Sure. Well, I don't know that Tiedemann has that much more upside than Ashby.
He's got health though, which is
he doesn't right now. He's hurt.
Well, I mean, it's like a groin strain.
I know it's not to the same degree, but he is also nicked. Okay. Well,
if I told you one of Tiedemann and Ashby were going to throw 100 innings this year, which one would you be more?
Ashby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tiedemann's 5 years old, dude, and Toronto has not shown any inclination to trust prospects like that at that age. He's 20. Like I would like to see them push him, but I don't think so. He'd be 21 this year, pardon me. But yeah, I would actually say Ashby, believe it or not.
Okay.
All right, you had enough time to do these two?
Yeah, we got to do it quick, but we can do them.
Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito, two of the pieces from the Juan Soto deal. Who do you want to take first? Both are pretty much in the rotation, I believe.
I guess Vasquez.
Okay, let's talk about Randy Vasquez here then.
This is more of an indictment against Johnny Brito, who's just to me is just so hittable. It's less about like Vasquez being like super interesting or anything, but I mean Vasquez threw like 40 innings or 37 innings last year, and they were mediocre innings, but they were fine.
I mean, the results were insane. He had a 2.87 ERA, but a 1.27 WHIP and 9% strikeout minus walk.
His xERA was 5.27.
He rode a 2.36 BABIP and 89% left on base rate to that success. But he's 25 years old. He's a live arm righty.
He's moving to a good park to pitch in, right? Like he's moving away from Yankee Stadium, going to San Diego, which is a great place to pitch. I think they need both of these guys really, really badly. So at least one of them to pitch well enough, because the back end of that rotation is atrocious and the front end is risky.
Why didn't they bring Lauer back? I mean, Eric Lauer's not like some savior or whatever, but I'm just thinking maybe they just want to get as much out of the Soto deal, so they want all three, King, Brito, and Vasquez, to be starting. But I don't know. I think plus they're all right-handed right now, so I think somebody like Lauer actually would have fit them well.
That would have made a lot of sense.
A guy like a Blake Snell might fit pretty well.
Unfortunately, I don't think they I know like a lot of teams cry poor, but
they can't scratch two nickels together. Yeah, and
San Diego's really struggling money-wise.
I will actually give them a little bit of a break, both with their TV deal being skunked, like a lot of other teams, and their owner died. Right, that throws an organization into upheaval.
Yeah.
That was horrendous. So I do understand that, but I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of Vasquez and Brito. Brito, like you said, pretty hittable. That's kind of his issue.
But I mean, being
off
hittable,
to an amazing start in spring.
Being hittable in San Diego is much better than being hittable in Yankee Stadium, right?
Correct.
So like I said, I mean 8 1/3 right now with 10 strikeouts, no walks so far. Maybe Brito is the guy I should be more interested in, because he's at least shown the ability to keep like the walks somewhat in check. Homers were the problem in New York, but now you're not facing that short portion in right field. You're going to San Diego. So maybe Brito is actually the one I should be more interested in, because the hitability isn't as big of an issue.
He's been nasty in spring.
Yeah.
No walks, 29% K rate, 42% swinging strike rate in 8 1/3.
That's great, yeah.
Again, tiny samples. I would take either in a DC. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I'm wondering what the Padres opening schedule is. I'm going to check it out real quick.
Okay, we'll do that, and we'll finish it up there. Looks like they got the Korea series. Neither of those two are going to pitch.
Yeah, they're not going to pitch there.
And then they open with your Giants and Cards both at home, and then they visit your Giants. So 10 games against Giants and Cards.
So the only problem with that is because I'm assuming they get 3 games against the Giants.
Yeah, you're worried that neither of them will get
to
San Francisco.
Pitch. Against San Francisco, because there's so much time in between the Korea series and the opening day series that Musgrove and Darvish will go against. So they'll go Cardinals, which I don't love.
Yeah, even in San Diego, I don't love that. And neither of them will get this is Vasquez 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Vasquez could get the last game against San Francisco. So he could open St. Louis at San Francisco. Or Brito, whoever the 4 is, I guess is what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily have to be Vasquez.
Home versus the Cubs.
Which I also don't love. Again, it's home, but it's, the Cubs are not a rollover of any sort.
They've actually got a pretty rough schedule to start the year.
Because then they go to the Dodgers and Brewers.
I mean, the Brewers I'm not worried about, but they go to Colorado.
Wait. You can roast their rotation. Why? I don't want my pitchers facing their lineup. It's not like the world beater, but I don't want my Vasquez's and Britos of the world facing them. You think they're a pick-onable lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're pick-onable, but they're not a team I'm running away from.
I am with guys like Brito and Vasquez for sure.
Look at that Brewers lineup, and
I
don't think it's that.
Jackson Chorio's their 7-hitter.
Sal Frelick's their 3-hitter.
He's awesome. What are you talking about?
I mean, I like Sal Frelick.
It should be Adonis. So Yelich,
it
Contreras,
absolutely
Adames,
should.
Hoskins. That's a good top four.
But
Then
they don't want to go. They don't want to go.
Chourio.
They
Yeah,
want to go lefty, righty.
I understand.
So,
But like, however they format it, I think they got a good 7 there. Bottom line is, I'm not starting these kind of guys against them. That's all I'm saying.
I might start one of them against
Okay, it's your funeral. That's fine. When Rhys Hoskins hits 3 bombs against them, don't come crying to me.
Just walk Rhys Hoskins. That's the only guy.
I love Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah,
all right.
I did.
I think we did it.
We made it through all the pitches. What are we going to talk about for the next 3 weeks?
I don't know. Maybe run it back and start back at the top of the rotation and do updates on all of them. No, we've got plenty to talk about. I do want to do that rotation draft. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking what we should do for that is
we still have to do relievers too.
Do we?
I mean, no. Can we just put a link to the reliever recon Patreon?
We could, or Closer Monkey, which is now
they're
owned by
they're together
reliever.
now.
Yeah.
I'm barely kidding on that. Like, I don't. I mean, go to.
I'll do relievers with Jason this weekend.
Okay.
So that way, at least you and I can skip it.
What do you think we should actually do besides the rotation draft?
You know what? My plan is hopefully this weekend to do full updates on ADP market movers.
Okay.
And
talk some of that.
I'll pick out some names.
Do you ever do any draft champions versus OC to see like who are the biggest movers? I know they're different.
Not
right?
really, because there's such a different format.
But I just wonder if you could get any insights of like, okay, now that we're in waiver leagues, because you talk about the difference between waiver and DC quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you might find something interesting there when you're looking for names of like, whoa, this guy, he's 200 picks higher. People are really going crazy for him. So I don't know. But however you want to do it, yes, bring some market movers for us on Monday. We don't necessarily have to do that rotation draft, but that is kind of interesting. In the past I've done rotation ranks.
I think we could go through a rotation draft pretty quick at the end of an episode. So
True.
If you want a rotation draft, either tweet at us, at Sporer, at Justin Mason, FBB, or comment on the post, or on the YouTube and say, hey, let's hear a rotation draft. Because listen, I don't want to repeat 2020's kind of layoff season again, but I did enjoy some of those drafts.
Some of those drafts were amazing. I've always had a dream of a fantasy league that is unit drafts. And this was born.
Have you ever played in a 13-run league?
No.
So a 13-run league is you get, however many people, it's got to be obviously divisible by like 5 or something, right?
Okay.
And you draft teams. And then it is kind of like a checklist.
Oh, yeah. I think you've told me about this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So maybe we, if people on the Patreon want to do that, do a 13-man league, I can set something up where, like, if we got, 10 of us, we each get 3 teams, 15 of us.
And you need them to score 13 runs, right?
0 through 13. So every time they score a number, you check it off 0 through 13. And first person to finish all of those wins the pot. So I've done it before. It's a lot of fun because you're just like randomly waiting, for a game. Like, it's always like a weird one where it's like, okay, all right, I need 11 runs from the Blue Jays, and you're watching the game, and it's 11-4, and then all of a sudden someone hits
your whole team needs to get 13, or they each need to do the 0 through 13.
One of your teams needs.
Okay,
so whoever's team does 0 through 13 first.
Got it. So you could have your last number, your 11, and you're looking at the White Sox, and they have 9 runs in the 6th, and you're like, if they give me 2 more runs, I'm gonna win this damn. But they have to land on it too. They can only score 2 more. Yeah, that'd be really fun. I could be interested.
And there's always a team that like gets out to like a really quick start and has like 12 of the 14 options,
and then just sits on it.
Just never gets a 2-run game.
I love it. Yeah, I would actually be really, really interested in
and it's actually an interesting strategy because, like, you need a team that's going to be able to score runs, but also get shut out.
Exactly. So
like
you might
the Dodgers,
want the White Sox.
The Dodgers may not be the team you want to get, but the White Sox could be.
But wouldn't you want to pair the two? Well, because if we're not doing
it depends on how many people you have in the league, right? Like, you may get 2 picks. You may get
if we do like
picks.
If we do 10 people and we each get 3 teams, it might be interesting to have like a Dodgers, Tigers, White Sox, right? You got a good middle and shit to try to get all your numbers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in that. I'd probably want to cap it at 10. I'd want at least 3 teams apiece.
Okay. So if we can find 8 people in the Patreon, or I mean, if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, Patreon's the easiest way. I will put it together and we will do a quick 13-run league draft.
That sounds hot.
So
okay, cool. All right, Justin, have a good one. You're not going to New York till next week, right?
So I leave Wednesday night. So we got Monday, and then you'll have to.
And then we'll be off. I might do some solos next week, or get some guests. Actually, you know what? I've been meaning to get some guests. I've been talking about doing some home and homes with people. I go on their pod, they come on ours. So you know what? I might be having to reach out to some folks.
Yeah,
because you're usually our guest scheduler, but you know what? I got to get off my ass and do it. So that's probably what I'll do next week.
If there are guests you want to hear, especially on Sundays, or even with us, let me know. Like, tweet at me, put it in the comments. Tweet at me is easier because I don't.
And if there are guests you don't want to hear, let us know. Who do you hate?
Oh, yes. Yeah, who do you hate the most? Make sure you tag them on Twitter when you do that.
Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't be mean. We don't want to start fights. We are nice people. Hey, I currently have 0 beeves out in the world. My beeves are all buried. You know what I'm talking about here. I am beef free. So
I have secret beefs.
If you want to start one with me, come get it, fuckers. I'm ready. No, just kidding. My slate's clear. I'm ready. No, I'm a calmer person these days, despite what I just said. But I got 0 beeves. My beeves are buried. So any beeves that you might think I have, and some of you might be running some through your head. You're like, no, you still got beef with him. No, I don't. I
have all the beefs now.
Justin has all the beeves. It's beeves. You know that when it's plural, it's beeves. We talked about that last episode or some time ago. But anyway, we're rambling. You got to go to work. I'll talk to you on Monday. Bye.
Take it easy.